Hi students, I am going to be presenting to you today the vocabulary words for word list number 6. We don't have time to go over them in class, so I'm hoping this video will give you all the information you need. One of the nice things, of course, is that you can go at your own pace, pause it if you need to, take notes at your leisure. So the first word that we are going to be doing today is noxious. Noxious is an adjective that essentially means very harmful or usually means pretty physically harmful or destructive. Synonyms for this word are poisonous or dangerous. Antonyms would be healthful or beneficial, so good for you. Noxious is a word that comes from the Latin root noxia, which means harm. You might know another word with the same root. It is obnoxious. Right? Even though something that is obnoxious does not literally cause harm in the way that noxious does, you get the idea of the connection between the two words. So your sentence is the victims were overcome by noxious fumes. So I'm not really sure why this is the case, but noxious is a word that is usually associated with fumes, gas, or smog, some kind of airborne disease, or you can get noxious waste, for example, from a nuclear facility. They have really noxious waste that they don't know what to do with, radioactive noxious waste. So hopefully you've got a clear idea of that now. The next word that we are doing is the word bilk. Bilk is a verb, and it means to cheat or trick somebody, especially out of money. Okay, a synonym would be to scam someone, and an antonym would be to earn that money, because if you're earning money, you're working for it. So you're not cheating somebody else out of it. Okay, so one example is Bernie Madoff bilked thousands of investors out of their life savings. This is a sentence that comes from a true story in the investment crisis back at the beginning of the financial crisis. Another sentence for you guys would be the shady mechanic had been bilking motorists for years. Okay, so you get the idea of the mechanic at the garage who maybe is tricking people by not working on their cars the way he says he is. So bilking, definitely negative connotation with that word. All right, the next word is replete. Replete is an adjective, and it means to be well supplied with something, okay? You could also say it's having much or having plenty or filled with something. Synonyms for this word could definitely be full or filled. Antonyms, empty or lacking. This is a word that also comes from a Latin root. The Latin root is plere, which means to fill, but you can see that P-L-E, and in this case P-L-E-T-E, both in the words complete and deplete. Okay, so you've got that same Latin root in all of those words. This word can also be used to mean like physically full or sated or satiated. So I'll give you those two meanings or sentences for both of those meanings. So the first one you have here is the novel, replete with humor and drama, rocketed up the bestsellers charts. Another example of that is in the Hunger Games, the cornucopia was replete with food, weapons, and tools. You'll notice in both of these cases, the word replete is followed by the word with. When we're talking that something is filled up or replete, you always have to have the word with alongside it. The only case that in which you don't use replete with the word with is when you're using it in the other sense, meaning so to be like physically filled up. So you could say that after a really big dinner, I felt very replete. Okay, so filled up in the sense of having eaten a lot. All right, the next word is blasphemy. Blasphemy is a noun. And the definition is profane talk about or holy or sacred things. Okay, we can get the idea. It's basically a disrespect or irreverence shown to God or to something holy. That which is considered blasphemy in some places might not be considered blasphemy in other places, depending on the religious. But this generally necessarily has to do with something religious. Or that someone would consider religious. Okay, so synonyms for blasphemy would be heresy. Be careful on the pronunciation of that word. It is heresy. Another word would be sacrilege. Okay, antonyms for blasphemy would be piety or reverence. Okay, those are words when you're really being respectful or revering that which is holy. Okay, the adjective version of the word blasphemy is blasphemous. So you take off that Y, you add an O-U-S, and that makes the adjective form of the word. Okay, the sentence in this case is the protesters screamed vile blasphemies during the Pope's speech. Okay, you're getting a sense of that negative connotation of vile. It's a word that really means nasty, blasphemies. You have that profane talk. You could also think about cursing or swearing would be other words that you could use to talk about the same thing. All right, our last word actually also has to do with religion today. The word is absolution, and absolution is a noun. The definition of absolution is a formal release from guilt or punishment. You can think of it as the act of forgiving someone for having done something wrong or sinful. Okay, synonyms would be forgiveness, could also be release or mercy. Antonym is condemnation, or it could also be penalty or punishment or retribution. The word absolution, the noun form, is related to the word, the verb form is absolve, A-B-S-O-L-V-E. To absolve is to forgive or to forgive someone specifically for their sins. Okay, and a sentence for this is the priest administered absolutions to the sinners. Okay, so that's that sense of they give them the formal release. All right, if you have any questions about all these words, feel free to ask me at the beginning of next week. Reminder that you will have a test on them next Friday. All right, have a great weekend, everyone.